I don't know if you know this or not, but today is Father's Mental Health Day. Now, if you haven't heard of that, it's okay because honestly, until a few days ago, I hadn't heard of it either. And I literally do mental health stuff, talking, whatever, for a living. In the UK, it kind of flies under the radar a lot, but it's quite a big deal in other countries like the USA, Japan, Canada, that kind of thing. I want to take a couple of minutes for a bit of real talk. So I'm talking to the dads of Facebook. All right. So first off, I'm going to admit something to you, which no bloke ever admits in public. And that is I have cried more times in the last 3 weeks than I have in the last 3 years of my life. Because if you don't know this, you probably do, to be fair. I became a dad 3 weeks ago. Now, baby Zach is amazing. He's happy. He's healthy. I love being a dad. But let's be honest here, it's really fucking hard being a dad, especially for the first time. Things didn't go to plan with the birth. Things didn't go to plan after the birth. The high emotion, the stress, the pressure, the sleep deprivation, brutal, takes its toll. And at times it just got a bit much for me, and I just had a bit of a cry. Honestly, we don't really ever admit this as blokes, and sometimes when we feel the need for tears, we fight it back because as dads, there's this expectation on us, whether that comes from other people or on ourselves, that we're the quiet, silent, strong, stoic, emotionless type, and we just get on with it. Let me make something perfectly clear. That is a complete crock of shit. We are people. We are people, humans, in the same way as females are, or whatever gender. We have emotions. We have feelings. It has an effect on us. And to pretend like it doesn't is just bullshit. We are doing no one, especially ourselves, any favors by pretending like it doesn't have an impact. So I've spoken to, I don't know how many dads in the last few months, and I just asked them, look, at any point during your child's kind of early few months, did you feel like having a cry, or even did you have a cry? And I'd say 85, 90% of them all said yes, but they would never admit that in public. And I asked them that as well, and they all said they would never really admit it. So we do need to start accepting that men do cry, both generally and when it comes to having babies, because it's just a pretty brutal time. We need to start talking about this shit and accepting it. In the same way as postpartum depression, you've probably heard of that before. Depression after birth is a thing for men as much as it is women. And I have argued with people till I'm blue in the fucking face about this, because some of them insist that only women, as in birthing mothers, can get postpartum depression. That's just not true. Factually, it's not true. Men can get it as well. The problem is when it comes to being a new parent, that sleep deprivation, that exhaustion, that kind of floating through life, it's kind of part of the process. It's normal, so we just accept it as normal. But there are also all things that we associate with depression. So sometimes it's just actually being genuinely honest with yourself. And this is a lot harder than I'm making it sound. And just say, how am I doing? How am I genuinely feeling? And don't let yourself say, all right, or okay, because that's not really an answer. Ask yourself generally how you're feeling. And if you're finding it really tough, or you're finding out that these thoughts, these feelings, you're feeling a bit hopeless, empty, numb, really, really low, whatever is going on for ages, maybe it's time to reach out for a bit of help. And this is where I'm going to admit a second thing to you that nobody ever admits. And that is, yesterday, I referred myself to get some help with the NHS therapy guys, because I found it quite hard as well. Now, I have a long history of mental health issues. We know this, PTSD, depression, etc., etc. So I've got a pretty good grasp on how I'm doing. And honestly, right now, I'm actually quite good. Genuinely, I'm quite good. But because I know the birth is really tough, I found it tough afterwards. I want to jump on it now. And even if that's one meeting with someone and they go, you know what, Pete, you're squared, mate. Don't worry about it. Or they might say, yeah, you know what, let's have a few sessions together, because if we jump in it now, then we're going to stop it becoming an issue further down the line. And the last thing I want is a full-on relapse with my issues, because trust me, nobody wants that. And the last thing I'm going to talk about is trauma. So birth is quite traumatic itself, especially for the mothers, but it can be for us guys as well, particularly if things didn't go to plan with the birth. But there's all kinds of things that can happen with the birth, and we kind of just accept it. And obviously there's a lot of focus on the mother because of what they've been through, and fucking hell, they've been through enough. But all that focus on them, and we kind of forget about ourselves as dads. So again, be honest with yourself. And if the birth didn't go to plan, maybe it's worth just having a chat with someone who's trained to talk about this kind of stuff, your doctor, counselor, therapist, whatever, and just check in, see how things are going. Because PTSD is one of these things that can sit idle for years, sometimes decades before it shows up. That's what happened to me. I was about 3 or 4 years until it really started to show up for me. So again, just be aware of this, because when it comes to the whole maternity system in the NHS, like I say, there's a lot of focus on the mother, and the midwives and the health visitors and doctors will always ask the mother how they're feeling physically, how they're feeling mentally. But it's not unless you get one of these people who's feeling particularly talkative, pleasant that day, that they'll actually ask you as a dad, how are you feeling? And if they do, it's often a, how are you doing? Rather than a genuine, how are you feeling? So we need to take some control over this. We need to start being honest with ourselves, stop kidding ourselves, accept that we have feelings, we have emotions, and this shit will affect us. And I'm not talking about just Father's Mental Health Day. I'm talking about every damn day. And guys, check in with each other. Seriously, it's a message. It's a message on WhatsApp or Messenger or whatever. How are you doing? To any new dads out there, or just generally. That's it. Take care of yourselves. Take care of each other. If you have any questions, feel free to slide into my DMs. And when I'm not in a sleep-deprived haze, or actually maybe getting some sleep, I'll answer you. But I will see you all later on. Bye now.